Hey, what up, guys? Doing another What's Next. This one's on former world title challenger Erickson Lubin. Lubin is my number 10 fighter at the 154-pound super welterweight division. He's coming off of he had last fought in October when he scored a dominating one-sided decision win over replacement opponent Nathaniel Gallimore. He was supposed to face Terrell Gausha that night. Gausha had to pull out with an injury, so Lubin ended up facing Gallimore and dominating him. Let's run. He was supposed to fight in April, and they were talking about an interim title fight, but an opponent hadn't really been mentioned at the time. So it's kind of up in the air what Lubin's going to do next. But it looks like it could be for an interim title, for the WBC interim title. Again, that hasn't been confirmed. We got to wait and see. Let's run them through the top 10 and see what's next for Erickson Lubin. We start with number 1, reigning two-time WBC champion Jermell Charlo, which would be a rematch. He fought Charlo back in 2016. He was 22. You know, he got fucking caught in the first round by just a wicked punch that I don't even think Charlo thought he was going to land. It was just a perfectly placed punch, and he dropped him cold, and Lubin couldn't recover. That's the only loss of his career. Lubin would love to get the rematch and actually is number 1 in the WBC right now, but Charlo has an optional phase that he's in right now, so he doesn't have to face Lubin in a rematch. Personally, I don't think Charlo wants to face Lubin in a rematch. A lot of people, myself included, picked Lubin to win the first fight. Charlo caught him early. I think he's going to ride high off of that and say, why do I need to fight him again? I already knocked his ass out in the first round. It wouldn't make any sense. Lubin also doesn't have a big name, so right now Charlo's kind of right when it comes to that because Lubin is a serious threat. So not sure. I don't think this fight is going to happen next for Lubin for sure. Number 2 is the unified WBA IBF champion, Jason Rosario. Rosario really can fight. Right now, he's probably going to make an IBF mandatory for what it looks like. He's also considering a fight with a unification bout with Jermell Charlo. So I don't see Lubin being an option for Rosario. He's just too high risk, and Rosario I don't think has the luxury. I think he's either going to face Charlo or he's going to have to make an IBF mandatory. So I don't think he has the luxury of facing anybody other than that right now. Number 3 is Julian J-Roc Williams, the former unified champ. J-Roc, I mean, this fight could happen. They're both ranked in the top, obviously Lubin's ranked number 1. J-Roc's ranked, I believe, number 3 in the WBC right now. So the fight could conceivably happen, but I don't think it will. I think J-Roc is coming off that loss to Rosario. Facing a guy like Lubin is high risk, and he probably gets his ass whipped, to be honest. But especially so, his confidence is not too high. So I don't think so. It could happen. They're both PBC guys, but I don't think it will. Number 4 is former unified champ Jarrett Hurd. Hurd right now, I think will fight anybody. I think he'll probably want to stay away from a guy like Lubin, but if it equals a final eliminator to get himself a world title shot, I think Hurd would probably take it. But I think Hurd has other better options. They're both PBC guys, easy fight to make. I think Lubin would be down, but Hurd, like I said, is probably going to look elsewhere first, so I'm leaning towards it doesn't happen. Number 5 is WBA regular champion Erislandy Lara. Lara looks like he's going to be facing Jermell Charlo next, that they're in negotiations right now for a unification bout. That's not 100% though, and it definitely hasn't been finalized, so it's just talk right now. But I do like the fight, the matchup itself, but I think it's a bad matchup for Lara. He's an older fighter. He's a southpaw. Lubin's a younger fighter and a southpaw, slick boxer. I think it's a bad matchup for what's his name, Lara, and I don't think he should take the fight. So I don't think this fight definitely doesn't have any legs right now. Number 6 is undefeated Brian Castaño. Castaño's in line to fight for the WBO title right now against Patrick Teixeira. He's the mandatory challenger, so this fight's not on the table for Lubin. Number 7 is former WBC champion Tony Harrison. Harrison is actually the number 3 fighter in the WBC. I could see this fight taking place. I could see Harrison trying to bounce back and taking on a kid like Lubin, but I think Harrison's going to try to get other fights first, but if it means a final eliminator and he can get back in the picture for a Jermell Charlo rubber match, I think Harrison might say fuck it and take the chance. He might get an extra push from Al Heyman in the PBC, but I'm going to lean towards the no, but I think it could happen. It is a possibility. Or even for an interim title. I think it could happen. Number 8 is WBO champion Patrick Teixeira. This fight's not going to happen next. Teixeira's making a mandatory defense against Brian Castaño, so this fight doesn't have any chance of happening next. Number 9 is Terrell Gausha. former world title challenger. These guys are actually supposed to fight back in October. I think conceivably it could happen. Does Gaucher, though, he hasn't fought since May of last year. He was out with an injury. He had to pull out of that fight with Lubin with an injury. So would he want to come back, though, after over a year and some change off before he fights Lubin? I mean, you never know. If he feels like he's ready and he wants to throw himself in the mix and go after, you know, and it becomes an eliminator, or for an interim title, I think he could do it. But does he want to do it? That's the big question, because Lubin is a full load. So now what do I think Lubin's going to do next? Honestly, I think Lubin is just going to face whoever wants to face him. Right now, he's got big names sitting behind him in the WBC, and if he's fighting for an interim title, one of these guys is going to have to say yes. I think he's got undefeated Sergio Garcia is number 2, and he's with Golden Boy, so I don't see that one. You got, I think, Tony Harrison at number 3. Both PBC guys might say yes. J-Roc Williams coming off the loss to Rosario. Don't think he's going to say yes, but he could. And then you have Jarrett Hurd at number 5. So one of these guys is going to have to say yes, or they're just going to move their way down. And I think that's what Lubin needs to do, just face whoever is willing to face him, fight him for the interim title, become the mandatory, and move in line. And if Charlo decides, if he becomes a unified champ and decides to vacate the WBC instead of facing him, then Lubin becomes a WBC champion. So, you know, if I'm Lubin, I'm just working myself, face whoever's willing to face him, because right now he's kind of the boogeyman at 154. Nobody really wants to fight him right now. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully he gets a bigger fight, but if not, move yourself in line before the end of the year. And that's what I think Erickson Lubin should do. So that's the What's Next, guys, on Erickson Lubin, former world title challenger. Hope you enjoyed this. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.